Chris Philp's jokes are just getting worse. Not only are they bad, but he keeps fluffing them. So much so that even the Speaker got fed up with it. Still trying to push this non-story of MPs having tickets to Taylor Swift, he ended up going over his allotted time. And yet they think this is cutting through to the public, these perfectly legal gifts, and they don't see the hypocrisy in their own actions. Chris Philp here thinking that he's funny and that half the government benches were going to Taylor Swift concert, when he himself was in trouble only a year ago for failing to declare £6,000 worth of football freebies. He actually broke the rules. Anyway, after his awful attempt at humour, the Speaker rightly points out that he had proper points to make. He needs to make them first rather than going over his time. What I did like, though, was the absolute belter of a reply from the Leader of the House. She sums up the 14 years of government pretty well.
The Institute of Directors has called it a poll tax on business and has said the costs will be borne by workers. And my final witness, Mr. Speaker, is Rachel from Leeds, who apparently used to work briefly at the Bank of England. In 2021, the Chancellor herself admitted that a raise in employers' national insurance is, in fact, in her words, a tax on working people. Now, Labour could have been honest in the election and actually made the argument for the increase, but they weren't honest. They pretended they had no intention of increasing NI to trick people into voting for them. Now, speaking of the Prime Minister, will the Leader arrange a statement on the special police escort for Taylor Swift? It is reported the police decided initially that no special escort was needed. Apparently, the Home Secretary, the Attorney General, the Mayor of London and, inevitably, Sue Gray, then pressured the police into changing their mind and providing one, violating the police's operational independence. We now know that one of the many freebies the Prime Minister has eagerly scrounged for himself were tickets and a backstage pass to that very concert. And it wasn't just him. The Home Secretary, the Science Secretary, the Culture Secretary, Health Secretary, Education Secretary, Chief Secretary, Schools Minister and the Prime Minister's PPS all had free tickets too. What were they doing? Having a cabinet meeting at the concert? Does the Leader understand how bad this looks? The government initially denied the Met were pressured, which now appears to be untrue. So will the government finally come clean and tell the truth about exactly what pressure was put on the Met and by whom? Over 13,000 illegal immigrants have crossed by small boat since the election. The government must now regret cancelling the Rwanda scheme before it had even started.
Shall I lead the House? Please, you get 5 minutes. Don't take advantage of it. You've got good points to make. Please make them early if that's what you think more appropriate.
And they don't like to hear it, but they did, I'm afraid, leave the country's finances in a very sorry state indeed. They ducked the decisions they knew would explode after the election and were grossly irresponsible. Pay deals left on ministers' desks with no money allocated. Not only was the pay rise for teachers for this year not funded, last year's wasn't either. A hospital building programme that was a work of fiction, not worth the paper it was written on. Out-of-control expenditure in departments like the billions being spent on asylum hotels. Reserves for this financial year spent 3 times over. Waiting lists at a record high, with industrial action ripping through the NHS and prisons on the verge of collapse. A government that knew it was about to lose and left us to pick up the pieces. And this is not just about the £22 billion black hole we've got now. It's a black hole year after year after year. And doing nothing is not an option. If we don't deal with it, markets lose confidence, the cost of borrowing goes up, and we saw 2 years ago, didn't we, what happens? It's the poorest in society who pay the highest price when the economy tanks. And we're all still paying higher mortgages and higher costs after what he did when he was the Chief Secretary to Liz Truss's cabinet at that time. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Honestly, I really won't be taking his advice on economic stability if he doesn't mind. and he raises the Taylor Swift concerts inevitably. I will just say to this House that the Taylor Swift concerts generated £1 billion to the UK visitor economy this summer. Surely this is something that people want to welcome. And perhaps, I know he's interested in quoting other people, he might want to read what the Conservative peer Andrew Lloyd Webber said in the Times today. He said the continued attention on this concert by the party opposite is ludicrous. I think it's about time they shake it off, quite honestly. Someone had to get it in, surely. And he raises the matter of the Rwanda scheme. Frankly, there were more Home Secretaries from his government that went to Rwanda than any illegal migrants. So, we're fixing the mess that they left behind, as we do across all of these policy areas. And we're restoring confidence and governing for the long term.
We're going to have a new Tory leader in a couple of weeks, and the chances of Chris Philp actually keeping his job of Shadow Leader of the House, or any other prominent role where he has to speak to people, is pretty slim. Well, that is if the leader is serious about improving the party, which, in all honesty, is quite a shame, really, because I miss making videos that just mock him, like the one that's on screen now. So go watch that next, have a laugh, don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.